Hey guys, so I'm as I'm sat here having a cup of tea, or I have been having a cup of tea because I drank it now. I Things have been coming up for me, and I've just been on Facebook. I'm a part of another group, or I'm a part of a group on Facebook, and one of the things that I've been challenging myself to do is, for one, be present whilst watching the people's videos because the group's a lot about videos and sharing your experiences, and the other one is interacting. So interacting, leaving comments, and so on and so forth. Now, this has been a bit of an issue for me because I there's a lot going on in that interaction for me, and I had previously had a much worse time with leaving comments and so on and so forth. There was a lot of me that didn't really feel like I had a lot to offer in that space. And it was also mixed in with feeling like I couldn't really collect my thoughts properly. And what that was really behind that was there was a fear that I might get something wrong, or I might say something wrong, or I might get corrected in some way, and that would sort of damage my ego in some way, because I don't want to be criticised. So a lot of that for me goes back to school and the environment I was in at school, and the deal that I had with learning, the trouble that I had with learning. Of course, now I know that it wasn't because my brain didn't function properly. It was all down to anxiety, this feeling of not being good enough in some way, like I couldn't do things because I'd been told that I had some kind of problem where I couldn't do this, and at the time they didn't know what that was, because when I was at school there was no such thing as ADHD. There was no such thing as dyslexia, dyspraxia, any of the other you might call learning or learning impaired disabilities. I know those things can encompass a lot of other different things as well, but there appeared to be no reason for this, and quite often it would be put down to you just being lazy and not wanting to learn, regardless of how you felt. There was no real emotional compensation from anybody outside of you, because they just weren't able to provide that sort of support because they didn't know this existed. Things were a lot less well developed then than they are now, and so I spent a lot of my time feeling very, very overwhelmed. Often when I asked questions, or asked how to do what I needed to do again, there would be a great deal of frustration from the teacher. Usually it would be, you should be listening. I'd get screamed at, shouted at. And I would quite often sit through an entire class feeling shit scared because I didn't know what to do, and I knew I had to do the work. And I knew that if I didn't do the work, I would most likely get detention for that. And I didn't want to get detention for what I was doing, because that meant getting in trouble, and then that meant involving my parents, and there was a lot of that involved. So that would lead to overwhelm. It would also lead to shame and guilt. So this, in a sense, is what's been happening when I'm going to leave comments. So what also happens is it causes problems for me with collecting my thoughts. And things tend to move around. It's a bit like having chess pieces. And instead of being able to move the chess pieces, it's like a sort of, like a magnet. When you put two opposite sides of a magnet, try and put them together, they repel each other. And so this is what it feels like when I'm going to do this when I'm going to collect my thoughts in my head. This is what it feels like. It feels like there's two magnets, the two sides. So I've got you know, my fingers are like the magnet, and then obviously the chess piece is like the magnet, and it pushes the chess pieces away. I'm continually kind of trying to get hold of this, and it's just going in all directions. It's knocking things over, and in the end, what happens is I give up. So that causes a lot of anxiety and frustration. And this of course leads to these feelings. And so, like I said, and I've probably said a couple of times in this video, that has got better over a period of time as I've left things, comments, and got more the more practice at doing what I'm doing. But there's still that feeling there, especially, and when that feeling happens, it's I almost feel like I'm trying not to be present in that moment, because I don't want to feel what I'm feeling. I don't want to feel these feelings. So the other thing that it can do is the other thing that can happen is that I will tend to sort of go into the group, and it's like doing half a job, because I'm going into the group. I then try to become present. I then realise that I'm going to do a comment or something like that. I start writing a comment, and then it get halfway through the comment, and then I just sort of, it's just like a burnout. It's just like the flame goes out, and I'm sort of feel like I'm left in the middle of this comment trying to say what I want to say, and then all this stuff comes up, the mixed upness, the whole kind of thing. So it's interesting, but of course the only way that I'm ever going to resolve this issue is to just continue taking those small steps, to continue consistently doing what I'm doing in a day, consistently taking action, consistently being present, being conscious, and doing the thing every single day. But it's being present with the emotions, being present with the feelings that are at the center of this. And I do find that once that happens, and it does happen, it's happening more frequently now because of what I'm able to, I'm actually doing. It's not so much that I have to collect my thoughts. It's more a case of I have to tune in to myself and say what's coming from my heart. And then, that it's almost like that energy, that the thoughts and everything else, that takes care of itself. It takes care of itself, whatever comes out. I mean, quite often I've found that what happens is that when that process takes place, I'm in acceptance, I'm watching the energy, and then it disperses, or there is an interaction or something that sparks me. There's no words in my head when that comment comes out. It normally comes out as a straight flow, and then it's a case of just sending that message, and it's done. So, still a long way to go with it, and but apart from that, I just thought I'd share that with you, and that's pretty much it for today's video, guys. So take it easy, and I will speak to you very soon.